so continuing on with these examples, first one here, we have a street map using a scale of 1 centimetre to 200 metres. So that means 1 little centimetre on a map represents 100 metres, a really big distance in real life. So the first thing they want you to do is simplify the ratio. So remember, we have to get them to the same units. So I'm going to leave the 1 centimetre and I'm going to change the metres to centimetres. So, how do we go from metres to centimetres? Well, centimetres are a smaller unit. So we're going to times by, centi is 100, so we're timesing by 100. So 200 times 100 on your calculator will give you that. And then because the units are the same, we can cross them off now. And this is your answer. 1 to 20,000. So that's your ratio simplified. So 1 of any unit on a map would be 20,000 of those same units in real life. Okay, so let's have a look at this next one. It says, find the actual distance. Actual means real. So we're finding the real distance. It has to be in kilometres. We'll deal with that in a minute. Represented by 7 centimetres. So you could use this measurement here that we've got, but I'm not going to because it is a bit easier if I actually stick with the original thing they told us up here. So I'm going to look at 1 centimetre to 200 metres, and now I'm going to think about what they want us to do. So to get the real measurement, remember when you get it to real, you're going to start with whatever they give you, and you're going to times by that number there, 200. So if we multiply those out, we're going to get that on your calculator. It will give you 1,400. Now, the answer will be in metres if you're using this scale, because you have to go with the units that are written there. So the real measurement would be 1,400 metres. That would normally be acceptable as an answer. However, they want the answer in kilometres. So we're going to convert metres into kilometres. We're going to a bigger unit, so we're going to divide, and kilo is 1,000. So we're going to do 1,400 divided by 1,000, and you get 1.4 kilometres, and that's the answer they want, because they told you to put it in kilometres. Okay, so you can use this original one, as long as you just watch the units. Okay, so if you're going to start with your centimetres, that's fine. Your answer will be in metres because of what we're doing here. Okay, so that is going to be in metres. All right, let's have a look at part C. It says find the scale distance. Now that means they want the drawing measurement, like the drawing distance, the one that's been scaled down. And they want it in centimetres, so the answer has to be in centimetres. Used to represent 18 kilometres. Now, if we're using this, I'm going to use this one because I think it's a bit easier for what we're doing. We're going to get our 18 kilometres and convert it to metres because we need it in metres for this. So I'm going to convert that to metres. I'm going to a smaller unit, so I'm timesing, and kilo is 1,000. So 18 kilometres is 18,000 metres. So now using that original scale they gave you, we're going to find the drawing measurement by taking the numbering metres. Sorry, I'll just write that a bit better so you can see it. So to find the drawing measurement, we're going to take the 18,000 metres and we're going back to the drawing. So we've got to divide this time by our magic number here, 200. Okay, we're using the 200 over here, we were using it as well. And if you do 18,000 divided by 200, you're going to end up with 90. Yeah, 90. And then because of our scale, that was in centimetres for the drawing side, we write centimetres as our answer. Okay, now the next question. We're looking at two towns, the town of Gilgandra and the town of Dubbo. These two towns are 66 kilometres apart, right? Gilgandra is 60 kilometres north of Dubbo. So on a map with a scale of 1 to 100,000, is the scale distance between the two towns? So in other words, what would the drawing measurement be between them when we measure it on a map? Okay, so our scale that we're using is 1 to 100,000, like they told us. So it's drawing to real. Always write that down, it helps. Then we're going to take the number they've given us up the top there, 66 kilometres. And what do we need to do here? How do we get this down to be a drawing measurement? So let's write drawing equals, now what are we going to do with that 66 kilometres? We need to bring it down to the drawing measurement, remember? So we're going to divide by that 100,000. Okay, so if we get the calculator and just do 66 divided by 100,000 to get it down to the drawing measurement. Okay, we press that in and press equals. Whoa, what is that? Let's write it down anyway and I'll explain it. Okay, so this happens sometimes and I'll explain what it all means. That's what the calculator told us, didn't it? Okay, so what does that mean? You're going to be doing this in year 9, but we'll have a look at it now anyway. That little number there tells you to move the decimal point 4 places to the left if it's negative. So if I come over here and just write that number, and I jump 1, 2, 3, 4, and put the decimal point there, right, so it's going to be there. I've got 3 spaces I've jumped over and then 6, 6. And I fill those in with zeros. Okay, so what I've done is rewritten that number as a decimal. So the little power of 10 up there tells you how many jumps to make, in this case 4 jumps. And if it was a positive number, we would jump to the right. Because it's negative, we're jumping to the left, right? So we started here, we jump over, 1, 2, 3, 4. And if you're jumping over empty spaces, you're jumping over zeros. Okay, so that's the decimal we're talking about. It was in kilometres, so we stay in kilometres. But you're never going to tell somebody, oh, let's just draw that length to be 0.00066 kilometres. Doesn't make a lot of sense. So we're going to convert it to metres first. Going to a smaller unit, we times by 1,000 for kilo. And you will end up with 0.66. You can put a 0 in front of it if you like. And they still wouldn't tell you that, would they? So you then convert that to, did they tell us what units? No, they didn't. So we can either change this to centimetres or millimetres. Take your pick. I might go to centimetres. I'm going smaller again. So I'm going to do times by 100. And that will give me 66 centimetres for my drawing measurement. Okay, now this last one is a bit different to the others. In the book, they're telling you it is a hard question. So if you don't quite understand this, it's okay, but let's just copy it down anyway. And I want you to remember with this question that at the end, we always have to check that it makes sense. If your answer doesn't make sense, then you've probably done the wrong thing out of the times or the divide. So let's have a look. We have an electronics engineer. Some of you might be smart enough to do that one day. He designs mobile phone SIM cards. You know what the little SIM cards are like, they're tiny little things. And he uses a diagram with a scale of 100 to 1. Now all the other scales we've looked at have been 1 to something. This one's something to 1, the other way around. Why is that? Remember I said in the notes at the beginning that sometimes we have tiny little things and we need to make them bigger on a drawing so we can see what's going on. That's what's happening here. So if the scale drawing is 80 centimetres, so in other words the 80 centimetres is what is on the drawing, what is the actual length, the real length of this little SIM card in millimetres? Okay, so drawing to real is 100 to 1 this time. Okay, we're trying to find the actual length, the real length. So we're going to start with the 80 centimetres they gave us. Now, what are we going to do with this 100? You tell me. 50-50 guess. Are you going to divide by it or are you going to times by it? What do you think? You might as well have a guess if you're in a test. You've got to do one of the two, don't you? So, if you think of the real measurement here, this is a tiny little SIM card, right? They've drawn it on a bigger piece of paper so they can see it, but it's coming down to the real thing small, okay? So you've got to get a smaller answer than 80 centimetres. So the only way you're going to do that is by dividing by the 100. So let's do 80 divided by 100 on your calculator, and let's see what you get. You're going to end up with 0.8 centimetres. Okay, and you know what that looks like on a ruler, and that's probably what a SIM card would be about that distance. Okay, so that looks right. If I did the wrong thing here, I'd be timesing by 100 and I would be saying that it is 8,000 centimetres. And I'm sure you've seen a SIM card and none of them are 8,000 centimetres long. Okay, so that answer would look ridiculous. So then you'd go, oh, hang on, I must have done the wrong thing. You go back and fix it up. So that answer is fine, except that it says they want the answer in millimetres. So we're going to go one more step. And millimetres are smaller than centimetres. So we're timesing. And how many millimetres in a centimetre? Look at your ruler. There's 10. And you'll get an answer of 8 millimetres. Okay, and that answer looks right. Okay, so if you're not sure, just look at the answer at the end. If it looks ridiculous, then you might have divided instead of timesing or times instead of divide. Just do the other one to make the answer look right. Okay, so good luck with your homework.